Did you know? Some small, itchy spots or unusual marks on your skin could be silent warning signs of skin cancer, and they're often ignored. People brush them off, thinking, it's just dry skin or, that's just part of aging. But overlooking these subtle signals could cost you more than you realize. Skin cancer is the most common form of cancer in older adults. And the scary part? It often begins with something small and ordinary, a mole, a dry patch, or an itch that doesn't go away. These early clues are easy to miss, especially when aging skin already shows many changes. But here's the truth, some of the deadliest cancers don't start with pain or bleeding. They start with a subtle itch, a strange discoloration, or a spot that lingers longer than it should. That's why in this video, we're going to walk through 5 specific skin signs every senior should know. This isn't to frighten you, it's to empower you. Because with cancer, early detection can make all the difference. So stay with me until the end. One of these signs could be the clue that helps you or a loved one catch something early while it's still treatable. Number 1. Unusual mole growth. One of the most overlooked signs of skin cancer in older adults is a changing mole. Most of us have moles we've had for decades, and we stop noticing them. But not all moles are harmless. And as we age, our skin's defenses weaken. Years of sun exposure begin to show, and something that once looked harmless can slowly become dangerous. Watch for changes in color, shape, size, or texture. The medical community uses the ABCDE rule to check moles. Asymmetry. Border irregularity. Color variation. Diameter larger than a quarter inch. Evolving over time. In simple terms, if your mole starts looking strange, grows, itches, or changes in any way, especially if it's new or different from before, don't ignore it. Skin cancer, particularly melanoma, doesn't always hurt. It can sit quietly, spreading beneath the surface. And by the time it causes real symptoms, it may have already advanced. Here's a story. Walter, age 76, spent most of his retirement golfing in Florida. He always wore sunscreen on his face. But he neglected the back of his ears and neck. One day, his wife noticed a mole behind his ear had darkened and looked uneven. It didn't hurt or itch, so Walter ignored it. 6 months later, it was diagnosed as melanoma. Luckily, it hadn't spread yet, but only because someone else noticed what he didn't. So what can you do? Take a monthly look at your skin. Use mirrors or ask someone close to check hard-to-see areas like your back, shoulders, or behind your ears. Take photos to track any changes. This isn't about vanity, it's about awareness. Your skin can speak. You just have to learn to listen. Number 2. Persistent itchy patch. There's a difference between a one-time itch and an itch that keeps coming back in the same spot, day after day. Maybe you chalk it up to dry skin or sensitivity. But if a patch keeps itching for no clear reason, and doesn't go away, it could be something more. As we age, our skin becomes thinner and more prone to irritation. But not every itch is harmless. Certain skin cancers, like squamous cell carcinoma or basal cell carcinoma, can start as a slightly raised, itchy area. No pain. No bleeding. Just a subtle itch that won't stop. And that's why it often gets ignored. Let me tell you about Irene. She was 69 when she developed a tiny, itchy spot on her shoulder. It wasn't red, didn't look unusual, and didn't hurt. But it kept itching, same spot, same feeling, every day. She finally had it checked. It was an early-stage carcinoma. Caught in time, easily removed. But only because she paid attention. Number 2, the persistent itchy spot, continued. Irene first thought the itchy spot on her upper arm was just a mosquito bite. But after 2 weeks, it still hadn't gone away. She tried every cream in the cabinet, anti-itch lotion, cortisone, aloe, you name it. Still, the itch persisted. Her doctor wasn't concerned. He said it was probably nothing. But Irene had a gut feeling something wasn't right. She pushed for a biopsy. It turned out to be an early squamous cell carcinoma. Because she trusted her instincts and caught it early, the spot was easily removed. Irene is doing great today. But what if she had ignored it? What if she had brushed it off as just aging skin? Here's the truth: catching skin cancer early doesn't require fancy scans or expensive tools. It requires awareness, curiosity, and courage, the courage to say, "This doesn't feel right. I want it checked." So if you've got an itchy patch that won't go away, don't ignore it. Don't wait. Talk to a professional. You'd rather be reassured than regret waiting too long. If you're still watching and finding this helpful, leave a #2 in the comments to let me know. And if you haven't yet, hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Your support helps us keep bringing you useful content like this. Number 3, a sore that doesn't heal. Let's move on to something incredibly common, and just as overlooked, a sore that refuses to heal. Maybe it started as a small nick while shaving or a scrape in the garden. You expect it to scab over and disappear in a few days. But it lingers. It stays red, maybe oozes a little, crusts over, then opens again. And suddenly, what should have been a minor wound becomes a frequent visitor that just won't go away. When we're healthy, our skin bounces back fast. A cut 1 week is gone the next. But if a sore doesn't heal within 3 weeks, or it keeps bleeding, itching, or reopening, it's not just slow healing. It might be a warning. This is especially true for areas with lots of sun exposure. Face, scalp, ears, neck, hands, arms. Here's the tricky part: many skin cancers, especially basal cell carcinoma, start exactly like this, a small, harmless-looking sore. It doesn't seem urgent. It's not painful. But it doesn't behave like a normal wound either. That's why so many people ignore it for months. Take Marvin's story. He was 74 and loved woodworking. One day, he nicked his forehead while sanding a chair. It seemed like nothing. But a month later, the sore was still there. His wife kept urging him to see a doctor, but he brushed it off, saying, "I'm just getting older. My skin heals slower now." Eventually, he gave in. A biopsy revealed it was basal cell carcinoma. Luckily, it hadn't spread, and they removed it completely. But had he waited longer, it could have been far more serious. Here's the takeaway. If something on your skin hasn't healed after 3 weeks, get it checked. It doesn't necessarily mean cancer, but it does mean your skin is sending you a message. Pay extra attention to sores in hard-to-see or easy-to-ignore places, under waistbands, behind the ears, near your glasses, or anywhere clothing rubs. Just because they're inconvenient to check doesn't mean they aren't important. And remember, skin cancer doesn't care if you've always eaten well, exercised, or never had a sunburn. It can show up anytime, anywhere. Your best defense is early detection. So if you spot a sore that just keeps coming back, don't delay. A single appointment could make all the difference. Number 4. Changes in a mole's shape or color. This next sign is something you've likely heard about, but still, most people don't take it seriously enough: moles. Now, not every mole is dangerous. Many of us have had them since we were kids, and we've come to see them like freckles or birthmarks, just part of who we are. But here's the truth: the moles you've had for years aren't usually the ones to worry about. The real concern lies in the ones that begin to change, quietly, gradually, in shape, size, or color. And because those changes happen slowly, they often get overlooked, until it's too late. Skin cancer, especially melanoma, is sneaky. It can hide in plain sight. It doesn't always itch or hurt or bleed. A changing mole might not call attention to itself, but it's still your body trying to warn you. Here's what to watch for: using the ABCDE rule. A is for asymmetry, one half doesn't match the other. B is for border, irregular, jagged, or blurry edges. C is for color, more than one shade or uneven tones. D is for diameter, larger than a pencil eraser. E is for evolving, any visible change over time. If your mole matches any of these, especially if it's new or different from before, it's worth getting checked out. You might be thinking, but I'm in my 60s or 70s, my skin is covered in spots. That's completely normal. Years of sun exposure, freckles, and liver spots are part of the journey. But that's exactly why it's even more important now to know what's normal for you, and what's new. Here's the tricky part: cancer doesn't always hurt. Many dangerous melanomas start out completely painless. They grow silently, often on your back, scalp, or the backs of your legs, places we don't check often. That's why regular self-checks, or help from a loved one, can literally be life-saving. Let me tell you about Teresa, a 68-year-old grandmother who loved gardening. She had a small mole on her left calf for years. One summer, her granddaughter noticed it looked different, darker, uneven, slightly raised. Teresa hadn't noticed the change herself. She figured it was just getting darker with age. But her granddaughter urged her to see a doctor. It turned out to be an early-stage melanoma. Because they caught it early, it was removed completely. No further treatment was needed. To this day, Teresa says her granddaughter saved her life. That's how subtle it can be. A small change. A second glance. A single moment of awareness. As we age, our immune system may not be as sharp as it once was. Cancer cells that might have been dealt with quickly in our youth now have more opportunity to grow unnoticed. And here's something many people don't realize: not all skin cancers appear in places exposed to the sun. They can show up on the soles of your feet, under your fingernails, even in areas that rarely, if ever, see sunlight. So don't ask whether a mole is in a safe spot. Ask yourself, is this mole behaving the way it always has? If the answer is no, even slightly, get it checked. You've come a long way in life. You've worked hard, raised families, and built a legacy. Don't let something as small as a mole go unnoticed. Your body speaks. Sometimes quietly. Sometimes subtly. But it always gives you signs, if you're willing to listen. If you're still watching and these insights are helpful, comment #4 to let me know you're here. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell, so you never miss an important update. Your support helps us continue bringing you life-saving, empowering content. Number 5. Persistent itching or bleeding in one spot. Some skin signs demand more than just a quick glance. And this next one, though often brushed off, is one of the most underestimated signs of something serious: persistent itching or unexplained bleeding in one spot. At first, it might seem like nothing. Dry skin, maybe. Or a bug bite that won't go away. But if it lingers for weeks without healing, it deserves your full attention. Why? Because your skin is your body's first line of defense. When something breaks that barrier, your body is usually quick to respond, healing cuts, calming rashes, easing inflammation. But cancer doesn't follow the rules. When cancerous cells begin to grow, they may interfere with the healing process. They can cause chronic inflammation, triggering itching. They may affect the tiny blood vessels beneath the surface, leading to unexplained bleeding. And unlike regular scrapes, these areas don't heal. They might even appear to improve for a few days, only to come back, again and again. The danger isn't in the itch or the bleeding alone. The danger lies in ignoring the pattern. So here's the rule. If you've got a spot that itches or bleeds for more than 3 weeks, with no clear reason, get it checked. And be especially alert if the spot is in a place that's easily irritated: under your waistband, behind your ears, near your glasses, or under your bra strap. These are areas we often overlook or explain away as friction. But if the irritation is constant, it could be something more. And remember, skin cancer doesn't care how careful you've been. It doesn't matter if you always wore sunscreen, never got sunburned, or lived a healthy life. Cancer shows up without asking permission. Your best defense is catching it before it has the chance to spread. So, if you see a spot that itches or bleeds and just doesn't heal, don't wait. A quick checkup could make all the difference. Number 5. Persistent itching or bleeding in one spot. Let's talk about a symptom that often flies under the radar: persistent itching or unexplained bleeding in the same area. It's easy to dismiss it as dry skin or a bug bite. But here's what makes this sign different: it doesn't stop. When a spot on your skin keeps itching or bleeding without healing, that lingering symptom may be more than just irritation. It could be your body sounding an alarm. Let's bring this to life with a real story. Alan, a 75-year-old retired bus driver from Ohio, thought he had a rash on the side of his neck. It didn't hurt, just itched occasionally. He used lotions and hydrocortisone, thinking it was dry skin. His wife even noticed some light bleeding in the mornings, but Alan shrugged it off. Thankfully, during a routine checkup, his doctor noticed it and referred him to a dermatologist. The diagnosis? Squamous cell carcinoma. Caught early, it was treated quickly. But Alan's doctor told him if he had waited just a few more months, the treatment would have been much more invasive. The key here isn't to assume every itch is cancer, but to understand that persistent, unexplained symptoms deserve attention. Especially if a spot hasn't healed in 3 weeks, bleeds without being scratched, or constantly returns to the same area. As we age, our skin becomes thinner and more sensitive. We bruise more easily. Sometimes we scratch without realizing it. And yes, we often blame every little thing on just getting older. But sometimes, it's not just age, it's a signal. There's also a psychological side to this. Many older adults feel hesitant to bother the doctor over something that seems small. We pride ourselves on being tough, on handling things ourselves. But being strong doesn't mean ignoring your body's messages. It means being wise enough to speak up, even when the symptom seems minor. Another important point: skin cancer doesn't just appear on sun-exposed areas. It can show up anywhere, on your scalp, chest, back, legs, and even in places that rarely see sunlight. Some people find blood spots on their pillow or notice itching that disrupts their sleep. Others feel the itch return every time the weather warms up. And when these symptoms are paired with other signs, like rough texture, changes in skin color, or a bump that's slowly growing, it's time to take action. Here's the good news: when caught early, most skin cancers are treatable, and many are fully curable. But time matters. The longer you wait, the more complicated things can become. So here's a thought worth holding on to. Being cautious isn't being paranoid. It's being smart. Your skin tells a story. It reflects your journey, where you've been, what you've faced, and yes, sometimes, what may lie ahead. Learning to read that story isn't about vanity. It's about self-respect. So the next time you notice an itch that won't quit or a tiny red dot that keeps bleeding, pause. Pay attention. Make the call. It could turn out to be the best decision you make this year. Final thoughts. We often imagine warning signs as something loud and dramatic: a sharp pain, a sudden collapse, something urgent and unmistakable. But the truth is, the body whispers before it screams. It starts small. A tiny dot. A rough patch. A spot that won't stop itching. And in those moments, we have a choice: dismiss it or pay attention. As we grow older, that choice becomes more important than ever. Why? Because we know our bodies. We know when something's not healing like it used to. And deep down, we know when something feels off. The signs we've talked about today aren't just about skin. They're about awareness, self-care, and empowerment. They're gentle nudges from your body, saying, hey, something's different. Please notice. And here's the most important part. Too many of us, especially as we age, downplay our symptoms. We say, it's nothing. We think, I'll wait and see. But I've seen it time and time again, the ones who speak up early are often the ones who catch it in time. They avoid suffering. They get simple treatments. Sometimes, they save their lives. You've come so far. You've faced challenges, overcome hardship, and earned every line and gray hair. Don't let hesitation keep you from the care you deserve. You matter. Your concerns matter. And the earlier you act, the better your chances, not just for healing, but for peace of mind. So let's end with clarity. These signs don't mean something is definitely wrong. But they do mean it's worth checking. Because in paying attention, you take control of your health, your future, and the precious time ahead. Thank you for being here. If today's video helped you, please leave a comment below. Share one thing you learned and how you plan to apply it. We'd love to hear your story. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Your support helps us continue creating content that informs, supports, and inspires. Until next time, take care of your body, trust your instincts, and never ignore the signs that matter.